You want to know something I've learned about wealthy folks? They never recognize the trap until it's already sprung tight around them. We only want important people at our wedding. Not your immigrant friends, Boris. That was it. 11 little words for my daughter's fiancé, Nathan Whitaker, an investment banker with Old North Shore money, a Yale diploma on his wall, and a smug grin plastered on his face. He said it standing in my small living room on a Thursday night, brushing off 30 years of sweat, dirt, and sacrifice like it meant nothing. I didn't shout. I didn't defend myself. Instead, I gave him that slow nod, the same calm smile my construction crews know all too well. That look means somebody's about to learn a lesson, and it's going to be one they'll remember for the rest of their life. Nathan thought he was talking down to some lucky contractor who'd stumbled into money. What he didn't realize was that the unimportant immigrant he was dismissing controlled the very relationships that could make or break his perfect, $100,000 wedding. Within 24 hours, his dream ceremony would vanish. His spotless reputation would crumble to dust. And 150 guests would see for themselves who the real important people were. Stick around, because I'll tell you exactly how I dismantled Nathan Whitaker's so-called American dream in a single night. But first, you need to understand how the disrespect started, not in that Thursday meeting, but months earlier. Little cuts, small insults, each one deeper than the last. It began in March. Nathan glanced at my guest list, 27 names. My crew. My foreman. The men who'd stood shoulder to shoulder with me while we built Lewandowski Construction from nothing. Tony Ricci, the guy who taught me American building codes when I barely spoke English. Mike Sullivan, who went to bat for me at the bank when they wouldn't give an immigrant the time of day. These weren't employees. They were brothers. Dad, maybe we should rethink some of these invitations, Maya whispered, her voice soft, almost apologetic. Nathan's arm draped around her shoulders like a leash. The Whitaker family has certain expectations. Nathan gave a nod, all smug approval. It's nothing personal, Boris. But a wedding is a reflection of the families involved. We have to think about optics. Optics. That damned word stuck with me for weeks. By April, my guest list had been hacked apart. My construction brothers, gone. My poker buddies from the old neighborhood, crossed out. Even Mrs. Delgado, the woman who'd practically raised Maya when I was working 18-hour days, scratched off for being too informal for a Whitaker wedding. We're keeping it intimate, Nathan explained over coffee at my kitchen table, spreading out seating charts like he was planning a corporate merger. Just family and people who, well, people who matter in our circles. I watched Maya's face each time. My pride and joy, the first Lewandowski to graduate college, sat there with that nervous smile, squirming but silent. I told myself love makes you blind. Maybe she'd open her eyes before it was too late. But it only got uglier. In May, Nathan suggested I spruce up my wardrobe. Slid me a card for his family's tailor. Nothing offensive, Boris, he said, with that polished banker's grin. But you'll be meeting important people. First impressions matter. Important people. There it was again, like a hammer blow. The real sting came in June during a venue tour at the Onwensha Club. I'd personally paid the $500 deposit. Money I earned laying brick in 100-degree heat while Nathan was at prep school playing lacrosse. This is Maya's father, he told the wedding planner. He's in construction. The way he said it, like I spent my life digging ditches instead of building the luxury homes his friends lived in. But here's what Nathan didn't know. In 2019, Lewandowski Construction renovated the entire east wing of that very country club. $2 million worth of work. I knew every board member by first name. I had their personal cell numbers saved in my phone. I'd saved their fancy clubhouse when another contractor abandoned the job. I just smiled and shook hands. By July, the picture was clear. Nathan wasn't just trimming the guest list, he was erasing my entire life from his wedding. My business partners? Too rough. My church friends? Might not understand the social dynamics. Even my brother Jakub, a cardiologist who'd been saving lives for 20 years, wasn't considered established enough for the Whitakers. The final slap came 3 weeks ago. Nathan showed up at my house with the updated seating chart. I'd been shoved to table 12, back corner, right by the swinging kitchen doors. If Maya's mother, God rest her soul, had been alive, she would have wept to see the way this entitled boy treated me. Her photo sat on the mantel as I stared at that chart, her eyes on me, watching it all. It's just logistics, Boris, Nathan said, eyes on his papers, not on me. The front tables are reserved for immediate family and key business contacts. Key business contacts. I'd built a $120 million company with my bare hands. Lewandowski Construction employed 340 workers. We'd finished 847 projects across 3 states. Shopping facilities, office towers, luxury hotels. Our logo was plastered on construction sites from Chicago all the way to Springfield. And to him, I wasn't a key business contact. That was the moment I started dialing. Quiet calls. Subtle questions. Little inquiries about Nathan Whitaker and Whitaker Investment Group. What I discovered didn't just make my blood boil, it gave me a crystal clear plan. Nathan wasn't only looking down his nose at me. He was covering up his own filthy secrets. Whitaker Investment Group. On paper, they handled $800 million in client money. Big number. Impressive if you did not scratch the surface. But I had scratched. I hired the same private investigator I use for vetting employees, and what he found peeled the shine right off that polished name. Funds missing. Transfers that had no explanations. Gambling debts stacked up like bricks, over $400,000 owed to casinos in Indiana. Nathan Whitaker, the same man who looked down his nose at me, was robbing old folks blind just to keep his lifestyle afloat. The Securities and Exchange Commission had already launched a formal investigation 2 months earlier. Federal agents were circling. His whole world was a sandcastle waiting for the tide, and the wedding was his last little party before the collapse. The beautiful part? He had no clue I knew. He thought he was marrying into my money, using it like a life preserver to keep himself from drowning. When he stood in my living room Thursday night, sneering at my immigrant friends, something shifted in me. This wasn't about class anymore, or about seating charts and optics. It was about character. It was about a boy who had never worked a hard day in his life questioning the worth of a man who had worked every single day. Nathan believed he was dealing with some lucky contractor who'd stumbled into a little cash. What he didn't realize was that luck never built anything in my world. For 3 decades I had built more than homes and offices. I had built relationships that lasted, trust that mattered, and a reputation that moved mountains. Friday morning, he was about to learn just how many mountains I could move, and how quickly his perfect wedding could turn to dust. 7:30 a.m. My phone buzzed while I was reviewing Lewandowski Construction's weekly reports. Nathan's name flashed across the screen. I record all business calls. 30 years in construction taught me folks say one thing and swear they never said it later. This time, Nathan was about to hand me ammunition in his own words. Boris, we need to talk. His voice carried that entitled drawl I'd grown to hate. Have you now? I said, keeping my tone neutral. Now look, he continued, I need you to understand something. This wedding is not just about Maya and me. It is about 2 families joining. The Whitaker name has carried weight in North Shore for 4 generations. I stayed silent, letting him dig deeper. My mother is hosting a pre-wedding dinner next Thursday. The guest list is very selective. We are talking about people who have shaped this community. Business leaders. Political figures. Families with real legacy. I see, I muttered. The thing is, Boris, your people, your friends from the construction sites, they would not be comfortable in that setting. And, honestly, they might make others uncomfortable, too. My grip tightened on the phone. My people? Do not take it personally, he said quickly. It is just reality. Look at the Hendersons, their daughter married a tech entrepreneur last year. Gorgeous wedding, but they kept the guest lists, complimentary. His Silicon Valley friends. Her Greenwich Society crowd. Everyone stayed in their lane. Their lane. He actually told me to stay in my lane. Nathan, I asked quietly, what do you think I do for a living? A pause. Well, you are in construction. You do well, obviously. Maya mentioned you own Lewandowski Construction. That is great, Boris. Truly. My grandfather always said America needs skilled tradesmen. You have built a nice business. But this wedding, the people attending, we are talking about a different level of society. A different level of society. He said it like he was explaining gravity to a child. Tell me, son, I pressed, what is this different level? He perked up, like he had been waiting for me to ask. Well, there are my father's law partners. A few federal judges. The Caldwell family, they own the biggest bank in the county. Senator Whitfield will be there. These are people who move markets, who influence policy. They speak a certain language. What language would that be? I asked. The language of real power, Boris. Old money. Established influence. Look, I am not trying to offend you, but there is a difference between new money and, well, money that has been refined over generations. Refined money. Like wine in some dusty cellar, aging and improving over time. So, my money is not refined enough for you. It is not about the money itself, he said softly, almost patronizing. It is about knowing how to use it, how to present yourself, how to move through certain social waters. His voice dropped into that syrupy tone people use when they think they are explaining something to a confused immigrant. Nathan puffed himself up and said, my family has been part of North Shore's circle for over 100 years. We know these people. We understand their expectations. He paused, as if the weight of history itself was behind him. And honestly, Boris, you don't. And that's fine. You came here with nothing and built something. That's respectable. But Maya is stepping into a different world now. A world that plays by different rules. The way he said the American dream made it sound like he was handing me a consolation prize, like a cheap little ribbon for trying hard. And those different rules? That was his excuse for cutting me and everyone I loved out of my own daughter's wedding. Look, he continued, this marriage is Maya's chance to elevate herself, to step into something bigger, bigger than where she came from. But to do that, she'll need to make sacrifices. That means leaving certain things behind. Certain things. Like me. Like her history. Like the people who helped raise her. I leaned forward and asked, and what exactly are you asking me to do, Nathan? He did not hesitate. I'm asking you to think about Maya's future. Maybe you could host a separate event for your people. Something more casual. A barbecue after the wedding, perhaps. That way everyone's included, but in the right setting. A barbecue for the unimportant people. That was his solution. And you think this is what Maya wants? I asked him. Maya wants to fit in with her new family, he said smoothly. She wants to be accepted. And she will be, as long as we're thoughtful about how we handle these transitions. Transitions. He spoke like my daughter's entire life, her roots, her memories, her family, were just baggage to be managed. Boris, he pressed, lowering his voice like he was leveling with me, I'm going to be direct. This wedding isn't just about vows and flowers. It's about Maya's future. The Whitaker family has connections that can push her career forward, raise her standing, change her life's trajectory. But for that to happen, we need to be strategic about associations. Strategic about associations. That was all I was to him, an association to be hidden away. You know what, Nathan? I said finally. You're right. You're absolutely right. This wedding should reflect exactly the kind of people you and Maya surround yourselves with. His tone brightened. Exactly. I knew you'd understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said, letting the edge creep into my voice. In fact, I think I understand better than you do. Something in my tone rattled him, because he suddenly went quiet. Boris? Everything okay? Everything's perfect, son. You've made things crystal clear. Good, good. So, we're in agreement about the guest list adjustments? We're definitely on the same page about who belongs at this wedding, I said flatly. After he hung up, I sat in my office replaying the recording. 23 minutes of arrogance. 23 minutes of insults slipped in between fake politeness. Every word was another nail in his own coffin. And with that call, Nathan had handed me exactly what I needed, moral permission for what I was about to do. At 11:47 that morning, I stared at my daughter's graduation photo on my desk. Maya, valedictorian at Fordham Business School, the first Lewandowski to walk the stage in a cap and gown. I worked double shifts for 4 years to pay for her tuition. I never missed a parent-teacher conference, never missed a recital, never missed a graduation ceremony. That girl was my whole world. And she deserved better than Nathan Whitaker. My phone buzzed. It was her. "Dad," she said softly, "Nathan told me you two had a good talk this morning. He said you understood about the wedding arrangements." Her voice sounded like she'd been holding her breath for weeks, waiting for me to finally surrender. "We definitely understood each other," I said carefully. "Good," she sighed. "I know this has been complicated, but Nathan's family, they have certain traditions. Honestly, Dad, this could really help my career. His father's law firm works with some of the biggest corporations in the country. There could be opportunities." "Maya," I said, "do you love him?" There was silence. Too long. Finally she said, "Of course I love him, Dad." "Why would you even ask that?" "Because love," I told her, "doesn't ask you to be ashamed of where you came from." Another pause. This one heavier. "I'm not ashamed," she whispered. "I'm just trying to fit into his world. And sometimes that means making adjustments." Adjustments. The same word her fiancé had used. "Honey," I asked, "when Nathan comes to our house, does he ever ask about the photos on the mantel? About your mother's story? About how we got here?" She said nothing. "Does he ask about the business? About the men who built it? About the people who carried us through those years? Does he want to know anything about the life that made you the woman he claims to love?" Still silence. "Maya," I said, "a man who truly loves you doesn't erase your history. He celebrates it." "It's not that simple, Dad," she whispered. "His family, they have expectations." "And what about our family?" I asked. "What about our expectations?" I heard her start to cry. My heart cracked. "Dad, I just want this to work. I want to be accepted." "Baby girl," I told her, "you don't need to be accepted by people who refuse to accept you as you are." After she hung up, I sat alone in that office, staring at her picture, thinking about the man she was about to marry. A man who saw me as an embarrassment. A man with skeletons rattling around in his own closet while he judged my worth. A man who would teach my daughter to be ashamed of the very strength that made her shine. That was the moment I opened my laptop and started making calls. First call, Stephen Grant, my private investigator. "Stephen, I need everything on Nathan Whitaker and Whitaker Investment Group, financial ledgers, customer complaints, securities and exchange commission filings, whatever you can dig up." "How fast do you need it?" he asked. "By 3 p.m. today." "Jesus, Boris, that is pushing it. Push harder." I added a $10,000 bonus if he delivered. That sharpened his tone. Second call, Unwensha Club. "Hello, Mrs. Park, this is Boris Lewandowski from Lewandowski Construction. I need to speak about the Whitaker-Lewandowski wedding booking." "Yes, I know it is short notice." "No, there is a family emergency." Mrs. Park was apologetic and polite. 12 minutes of patient explaining got me a complete refund on the $500 deposit. She handled it like a pro. Third call, Four Seasons, Chicago. "Mr. Delgado, Bick Lewandowski here, we did your kitchen overhaul in 2019. It came in under budget, ahead of schedule. I need a favor." The Four Seasons had been Nathan's backup venue. The presidential suite he reserved for $2,800 a night suddenly became unavailable. A plumbing emergency would require major renovations that only Lewandowski Construction could do. Fourth call, Shoreacres. This one was personal. I had built their entire marina in 2018 and saved them $400,000 when the original contractor tried to cheat with cheap materials. The owner, George Abbott, owed me more than money, he owed me his reputation. "George, it's Boris. I need the Whitaker wedding cancelled." "No explanations?" he asked. "Not right now. Yes, I know it is their biggest event this quarter. Trust me. George trusted me. He understood why. By 2 p.m., Nathan Whitaker's perfect wedding venues were falling off the map one by one. But I was not finished. At 2:47 p.m., Stephen hit me back like a thunderclap. "Boris, you are not going to believe this," he said. "The Securities and Exchange Commission has been investigating Whitaker Investment Group for 8 months. Client funds misappropriated. We are talking about suspicious transfers of $2.3 million. Keep going." I said. "It gets uglier. He has betting debts. Big ones. $400,000 owed across 3 casinos. There is chatter he has been using client money to cover losses. When does this go public?" I asked. "FBI raid scheduled for Monday morning. Arrests by Tuesday." Stephen's voice was steady, but the news was brutal. Nathan Whitaker had one free weekend left. One weekend before his life unraveled. One weekend before the man who dismissed my people would learn what happens when you insult the wrong immigrant. At 3:15 p.m., panic arrived by phone. The first call I heard about it came from Maya, 20 minutes later, her voice trembling. "Dad, something weird is happening. Nathan just got a call from the country club. They canceled our booking. They said family emergency, but we had contracts." "That is strange," I said, keeping my face neutral as I scanned Lewandowski Construction's client ledger. 30 years of relationships was about to pay off. And the Four Seasons called too. They said the presidential suite has a plumbing issue. Major repairs. They are refunding our deposit. I made sympathetic noises and let her worry into the phone while I watched the dominoes fall. What Nathan did not know, what no one knew but me, was how deep Lewandowski Construction's roots ran in North Shore. We had built more than buildings, we had built the social backbone of this place. Churches, clubs, schools, the country clubs, they had our imprint. People I had helped years ago returned favors without a second thought. At 3:45 p.m., Shoreacres called me back. "Mr. Lewandowski, this is Jennifer from Shoreacres. I wanted to apologize about the Whitaker cancellation. Mr. Abbott said there were family circumstances. We are refunding the entire $15,000 deposit. Mr. Abbott asked me to tell you, if you need anything else, just call." George remembered how I had walked their plans through City Hall, how I had smoothed permitting problems in 2018. He repaid loyalty completely. At 4:20 p.m., Maya called again, and now she sounded scared. "Dad, 3 more venues cancelled. Exmoor Country Club, Skokie Country Club, even the Shed Aquarium. They all have different excuses, but Nathan says this cannot be a coincidence." It was not a coincidence. It was leverage practiced like an art form. Exmoor Country Club. Lewandowski built their new clubhouse in 2020. The project manager still sent me Christmas cards. Skokie? We rebuilt their pro shop after the 2019 flood, saving them $200,000 by scheduling around tournaments. The Shed Aquarium? Lewandowski installed their new heating and cooling system. The curator's daughter worked in our accounting department. "Maya, what is he saying?" I asked. "He thinks someone is sabotaging us. He is talking about hiring a private investigator," she replied, panic in her voice. "Did he ask me if I had connections at these venues?" I said, keeping my voice calm. She hesitated. "He asked if you knew people at the clubs, if you had any influence." "And what did you tell him?" I asked. "I told him you were just a construction contractor. That you would not have that sort of pull. Just a construction contractor." Even my own daughter had swallowed Nathan's story. "Maya, let me ask you something. In 30 years, how many buildings do you think Lewandowski Construction has put up?" "I don't know," she said softly. "Dozens?" 847 completed projects, I told her. Shopping facilities, office buildings, restaurants, hotels, country clubs, private homes. Over 600 men and women have carried our paychecks. Subcontractors, suppliers, delivery drivers. We've done business with every construction supply company from here to Springfield. She went quiet. When you build someone's dream house, Maya, they remember. When you save a failing project and hand it back on time, they remember. When you hire their sons, give work to their cousins, sponsor their little league teams, they remember. She whispered, Dad, what are you saying? I'm saying maybe Nathan doesn't have the first clue what 30 years of honest work actually builds. By 5:30 that evening, Nathan called me himself. His voice was clipped, tight, but I heard the panic under the polish. Boris, I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Of course. Do you have business relationships with any of the venues we've been looking at? I've done plenty of work for clients over the years. Why? Because 7 venues cancelled our wedding today. 7. That doesn't happen by accident. That does seem unusual, I said, flat as stone. Boris, I need to know. Are you interfering with my wedding? The line hung there. The same man who spent months telling me I was nobody now suspected I had the power to tear down his perfect day. Nathan, let me ask you something. Yesterday, you told me I didn't understand what important people are. Today you're asking if I've got enough influence to wreck your wedding. Which is it? Silence. I mean, according to you, I'm just some immigrant contractor who got lucky. So how could a guy like me possibly touch 7 high-end venues? I paused, letting it sting. Unless you were wrong about me. Unless 30 years of hard work actually earns a man something more than luck. I could practically hear him sweating. Look, if there's been some kind of misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Nathan. You've been clear about your opinion of me, and I've been clear about where I stand. What do you want? He asked finally. The question told me he knew exactly where the power sat now. I want you to have the wedding you deserve, son. One that shows everyone exactly who you are. What's that supposed to mean? It means a man who lives off stolen money and hides his sins shouldn't be throwing lavish parties. Dead silence. That's right, Nathan. I know about Whitaker Investment Group. I know the Securities and Exchange Commission has been sniffing around. I know about the betting debts. $400,000. I know exactly who you are. You can't prove anything, he snapped. On Monday morning, the FBI will prove plenty. But don't waste your energy worrying about Monday. Worry about tomorrow. Because tomorrow, 150 guests are going to see for themselves that the man who judges everyone else's worth isn't worth a damn himself. I ended the call. Nathan wanted important people at his wedding? He would get them. Federal agents count as important, don't they? Saturday morning, 8:15 a.m., Nathan stormed into my office without an appointment. I was studying blueprints when my secretary buzzed. Mr. Lewandowski, Nathan Whitaker is here to see you. He looks agitated. Send him in. He came through the door like he still owned the room, but the cracks were showing. Designer suit rumpled, hair messy, dark circles under his eyes. This was a man who hadn't slept. We need to talk, he said. I motioned toward the chair across from my desk. Sit. He stayed standing, trying to flex authority in a room filled with my success. Awards lined the walls. Framed photos of completed projects. My very first building permit from 1995, mounted like a badge of honor. My whole American dream hanging in plain sight. You think you're clever, don't you? I leaned back, calm. I think I'm thorough. 11 venues, Boris. 11. Every single backup we had is gone. That's unfortunate, I said, letting the words sting. Cut the crap, he snapped. You did this. Did what exactly? His hands shook. You've systematically destroyed my wedding. Used your connections to kill every venue in the county. Nathan, yesterday you called me a lucky contractor. Today you're crediting me with controlling every venue in North Shore. Which is it? He started pacing, like a caged dog. This isn't a game, Boris. Maya is crushed. Her dream wedding is ruined because you can't handle being left out of the cool kids table. Cool kids table. Still talking down to me like I was some schoolboy. Sit down, Nathan. Something in my voice froze him. I said, sit. He obeyed, lowering himself into the chair. I opened my desk drawer, pulled out a manila folder, and slid it across the desk. 47 pages stamped with federal letterhead. Securities and Exchange Commission reports. Investigation summaries. Proof of the truth. Nathan's eyes widened the second he recognized it. "Let us talk about games, son," I said, sliding the manila folder closer across the desk. "You have been playing a very big one." He stared at the papers, face going gray. I did not rush him. I let the silence fill the room like pressure. Then I spoke, slow and cold. $2,300,000 in client funds. 12 separate transfers. All funneled to cover betting losses at casinos in Indiana. The color drained from his cheeks. He swallowed. Eleonora Hoffman, age 82, retirement account. You moved $180,000 into your personal trading account. Told her it was a high-yield opportunity. You cannot prove, he began, reaching for a refuge in euphemism. Robert and Susan Park, I went on. Both in their 70s. Their grandson's college fund, $240,000, vanished. I pushed an exhibit across the desk, bank statements showing wires straight to Borgata Casino. Lines, dates, amounts. Clear as daylight. What I find interesting, Nathan, I said, leaning forward so my voice cut through his panic, is that you spent months lecturing me about refined money, social standing, and who matters. All the while you were stealing from elderly clients to feed a betting habit. It is not stealing, he snapped, too quick. It is temporary liquidity management. Temporary liquidity management. He wrapped his offenses in corporate words like a bandage. It sounded ridiculous in that office filled with my projects on the walls. The FBI does not call it that. Neither do the clients whose life savings disappeared. Neither do the federal prosecutors who had been building this case for 8 months. How did you get this information? He asked finally, voice thin with fear. Same way I got my venues cancelled, I said. Relationships, Nathan. Actual relationships built on work, trust, and respect, not inherited names and social climbing. He leaned in, desperate. Boris, maybe we can work something out. The wedding, Maya, she does not deserve to suffer for our disagreements. Maya deserves better than you. I said it plainly. It landed harder than any accusation. I love her. He tried to make it real. You love her money, I answered. You thought marrying Maya would fix your problems. Give you access to Lewandowski Construction's assets. Let you bury what you stole before anyone noticed. He fell silent after that, and his silence was confession enough. Here is what will happen, I told him, each word deliberate. On Monday morning, FBI agents will arrest you for wire fraud, embezzlement, and securities violations. Your accounts will be frozen. Your name will be mud. Your family name will be linked to financial crime. And Maya will find out she dodged a bullet. She will have a chance to find a man who actually deserves her. He rose slowly, rage trying to mask the terror. This is not over. You are right. It is only beginning. You will see, he spat. In 4 hours, 150 guests will arrive for the wedding. They will learn exactly who Nathan Whitaker is. Bastard, he hissed. You. Which one of us is the bastard, Nathan? I asked quietly. An immigrant who built an empire by honest labor, or a trust fund-fed criminal who ruined elderly people for a betting habit? His face crumpled. There was no answer. Later that morning, around 10:30, he tried a last move. I was sipping coffee when Maya called, voice brittle. Dad, have you seen Nathan's Instagram? I opened my laptop. 30 minutes earlier, Nathan had posted a video, slick lighting, composed face, the whole old money backdrop. He played the injured gentleman of society, all dignity and outrage. Friends, he said to the camera, I need to address some disturbing developments. Certain individuals have used unethical methods to interfere with a private family celebration. Intimidation and coercion will not be tolerated. The comments were pouring in. Whitaker family friends rallied. Old North Shore money circled the wagons. He did not name names, but his post was a call to arms, do not bully the Whitakers. We will not be intimidated, he said, voice steady for the camera. He was doubling down on status even as the net closed around him. Maya, people are sharing it, she whispered to me. They are defending him. They are attacking new money, attacking immigrants. She sounded crushed. Someone posted pictures of our house, calling it, immigrant ghetto. I scrolled through the replies. Helen Whitaker, his mother, had shared the post with a comment that dripped old-world entitlement. Some people never learn how to keep their mouths shut. Senator Whitfield had even liked the post, Senator Whitfield, the same man who had praised Lewandowski construction at ribbon cuttings years ago. The hypocrisy sat in my stomach like bile. At 1100, George Abbott from Shoreacres called. Boris, I am seeing social media noise. Board members are asking questions about your business practices. I do not want the club dragged into this. George, I said, steady, I understand. But you know me. You know what I have built here. I did not explain more. I did not need to. He remembered how I had walked their plans through the city, how I had saved their reputations in 2018. That loyalty counted. There was a pause on his end. What are you not telling me, Boris? He finally asked. Monday morning, the FBI will arrest Nathan Whitaker, I said. Wire fraud, embezzlement, securities violations. Over $2 million taken from elderly clients to feed betting debts. Silence. Then, Jesus Christ, Boris. You are sure about this? I had the paperwork in front of me, 47 pages of proof, banking records, wire transfers, sworn complaints. Nathan Whitaker was not just arrogant, he was a criminal hiding behind a family name polished by generations of privilege. And now, he was trying to drag my reputation down with him to cover his own sins. At 11:45 that morning, I decided it was time to fight back publicly. No flashy video, no production. Just a straight post, text only. To the North Shore community, tomorrow federal agents will arrest Nathan Whitaker for embezzling $2,300,000 from elderly clients. Before you start talking about immigrant values versus American values, ask yourself, what kind of values involve stealing from grandparents just to fund casino tables? Beneath those words, I attached one document, a bank statement showing Eleonora Hoffman's $180,000 pulled from her retirement account and shoved into Nathan's personal account for Vegas betting. The internet did what the internet does. The reaction was instant. Helen Whitaker, Nathan's mother, screeched that my post was libel and demanded I retract it. Senator Whitfield quietly slipped away, unliking Nathan's earlier video. 3 different board members from venues I'd worked with called to assure me our relationships were solid. The tide was turning. But the real earthquake hit at noon. Robert Park, the elderly man whose grandson's Harvard fund had been drained, shared my post with his own story. This man destroyed my family's future for poker chips. I worked 73 years in this country, built a restaurant business from scratch, saved every dollar for my grandson's education. Nathan Whitaker gambled it away. Then came Susan Hoffman. My husband died believing his retirement was safe. Nathan Whitaker spent our savings at casinos while I ate canned food to pay my medical bills. Within 2 hours, 12 more victims had stepped forward, immigrants, working-class families, retirees. They all told their stories. And just like that, the narrative flipped. Nathan's high society friends went silent. What had been painted as an immigrant trying to overreach suddenly became a story about a predator exposed. By 2 o'clock, Nathan tried again. This time the mask had slipped. He looked ragged, desperate, his words stumbling. These accusations are false. My lawyers will handle these defamatory, the video cut off mid-sentence. At 2:03 sharp, 3 black sport utility vehicles rolled into the Whitaker estate. FBI agents. They had come 18 hours early. Somebody had tipped them off that Nathan might run. Maybe that somebody had also handed over proof of ongoing financial offenses. Maybe that somebody had been an immigrant contractor who finally decided enough was enough. By 2:30, while the FBI searched the Whitaker mansion, I sat at my own kitchen table with Maya. Her wedding dress was upstairs, untouched, destined never to be worn. Her hands shook, her eyes were red, but for the first time in months they were clear. "Dad," she whispered, "I need to know everything." So I laid it out for her. Spread the papers like a deck of cards: banking statements, securities and exchange commission filings, signed testimonies, betting receipts. 2 years of rot, neatly documented. "Eleonora Hoffman, 82 years old," I said. He promised her higher returns, then stole $180,000 to cover his casino losses. Maya traced the numbers with trembling fingers. She trusted him, she said softly. They all trusted him. Robert and Susan Park, I continued. Gone. Their retirement savings, wiped out. The Williams family, poof. Their daughter's medical fund, gone. 12 families, Maya. 12 families gutted so Nathan could chase cards and dice. Her lips trembled. How long have you known? I started suspecting Thursday night, I admitted. Nathan was too desperate. Too eager to tie himself to our family's money. So I called Stephen Grant. Her head snapped up. Uncle Stephen? Your old army buddy? That is him. The so-called unimportant immigrant Nathan thought did not belong at the wedding. Stephen dug. Found the federal investigation, the debts, the trail of theft. He handed me proof. The irony hit her hard. The man Nathan dismissed as beneath him was the one who handed me the proof that destroyed him. Maya fell silent for a long while, staring at the piles of paper. Not just absorbing Nathan's offenses against strangers, but realizing the betrayal he delivered to her. He never loved me, did he? She finally asked, her voice tiny. Sweetheart. No, Dad. Be honest. She pressed on. He saw money, didn't he? He saw Lewandowski Construction's value and thought I was his ticket out. I could not lie to her. I nodded. That is the truth. 3 weeks ago, he even asked me about making you a partner in Whitaker Investment Group after the wedding. Dressed it up as romance. What he really wanted was access, our assets to patch the hole he had blown with other people's money. Her face crumpled, but there was steel under the grief. That was my girl. Maya rose from her chair and drifted toward the kitchen window. Outside, I could already see news vans lining the street. The raid at the Whitakers' estate had made headlines, and word was spreading fast. Her voice was quiet, almost fragile. The guests, Dad. 150 people, his relatives, his business partners, our friends, they're all going to find out. I asked her gently, would you rather they stayed in the dark about the man you nearly married? She shook her head, then turned back toward me with wet eyes. No. You're right. She hesitated, then pressed on. But I owe you an apology. Maya. Let me finish. For months, I let Nathan make me feel ashamed of us, ashamed of you, ashamed of where I came from. I watched him belittle your friends, mock your accomplishments, try to diminish you, and I stayed silent. I was in love, Dad. But love made me a coward. I wanted so badly to belong in his world that I forgot my own. I forgot who raised me, who sacrificed everything for me, who built the life I was living. She picked up one of the victim testimonies scattered across the table. Isabel Delgado, 74 years old, her home care fund gutted for one of Nathan's weekends in Indiana. Maya's hands trembled as she read it. This woman lost her house, Dad. And I was picking out centerpieces while the man I was supposed to marry stole her savings. I shook my head. That's not on you. Her eyes flashed. Isn't it? I knew he gambled. I knew there were debts. When collection letters started coming to my apartment, when he began asking about your company, about our assets, I ignored every red flag because I wanted the fairy tale. The phone rang. Helen Whitaker's name blinked across the caller ID. I let it roll to voicemail. Dad, Maya whispered, there's more. Last month, Nathan asked me to co-sign a loan. Said it was for a business expansion. I nearly signed. Nearly? I came to you, remember? Asked if I should invest in Nathan's company. You told me to wait until after the wedding, to focus on planning first. I nodded. I remembered clearly. Something about Nathan's urgency had unsettled me. I looked at her. If you had signed, Maya, you'd have been shackled to his debts. That was his plan, an exit route with your name on the line. She sat back down hard, the weight of it finally settling. So he wasn't just stealing from clients. He meant to steal from us too. The good news, I told her, is he failed. And Monday morning, the justice system will finish the job. Her eyes traveled over the papers again, 12 families devastated, millions gone, lives uprooted. Dad, she said softly, I want to do something for them. The Hoffmans, the Parks, all of them. Lewandowski Construction should help somehow. And in that moment, I knew my daughter was going to come through this stronger than ever. By 4 o'clock that Saturday, the Lewandowski estate hummed with an odd, restless energy. Against all expectations, Maya had made her choice. The wedding was off, but the gathering would go forward. The guests deserve the truth, she'd said. And so they came, 150 people, unsure of what they were walking into. On the back patio, with the Lake Michigan gleaming behind her, my daughter stood tall in her gown. The veil was gone, but she still looked like the woman I had raised, steady, proud, clear-eyed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. I know the venue changes and last-minute messages left many of you confused. I want to explain everything. I watched from the kitchen window as faces turned toward her. Nathan's family was in the front, Helen Whitaker pale with fury, flanked by judges and North Shore elites. My own construction crew lingered in the back row, looking uncomfortable in their borrowed suits, but loyal to the bone. Senator Whitfield hovered nervously, darting glances toward the plainclothed FBI agents who had stationed themselves around the perimeter. Maya's voice cut through the murmurs. This morning I learned something about the man I was meant to marry. Something that changed everything. That was when the black Mercedes rolled up the driveway. Nathan had managed to secure emergency bail. He climbed out, lawyer at his side, looking like hell. His designer suit was wrinkled, his eyes sunken from lack of sleep. $500,000 in bail money, no doubt scraped together from his victims' funds, had bought him this moment. Maya, he called, shoving through the crowd. What are you doing? She didn't flinch. Telling the truth. He reached the patio steps, his attorney whispering frantically in his ear. This is a private family matter, the lawyer tried to interject. But Maya's voice rang out clear. Nathan Whitaker stole $2,300,000 from elderly clients to feed his betting addiction. The lawn fell into complete silence. Even the lake seemed to hush. Helen Whitaker stood, her tone cold as steel. That is outrageous. You have no right to speak like this. Maya's voice did not waver. The FBI arrested him 6 hours ago. Wire fraud. Embezzlement. Securities violations. 12 families gutted so he could play cards in Rivers Casino. Nathan's face turned crimson. You're hysterical, Maya. The stress, the venues. She cut him off cold. There were no venue problems. My father cancelled every booking after he discovered what you are. And just like that, all eyes swung toward me. I stepped out onto the patio, a manila folder tucked under my arm. I raised my voice so all could hear. Eleonora Hoffman. 82 years old. She trusted Nathan with her retirement savings. He took $180,000 and blew it on a weekend in Vegas. The crowd gasped. The truth was finally out in the open. Nathan's attorney grabbed his arm and hissed, "Do not say another word." But the truth was already loose on the lawn. I lifted the bank statement so everyone could see. Robert and Susan Park had been married 50 years. Their grandson's college fund, $240,000, vanished into a blackjack machine while they skipped meals to save. Isabel Delgado, age 74, needed home health care after her stroke. Nathan drained her medical fund for a poker tournament and she lost her home. You could feel people shifting in their seats. Senator Whitfield edged toward his car. A few of Nathan's associates were huddled over their phones, probably dialing their lawyers. But here's how Nathan really felt about you all, I said, and then I did what I knew would make him blanch. I pulled up my phone and linked it to the portable speaker Maya had set up for music. His recorded voice filled the garden, calm and condescending. We only want important people at our wedding, he said. Not your immigrant friends, Boris. This marriage is Maya's chance to elevate herself, leave behind things that don't belong in our circles. He talked about the language of real power, about old money and refined influence, as if his gilded family tree made him a better human being. The words spilled out and hung in the air like a curse. Helen Whitaker's face went rigid. Nathan's voice kept on, talk about transitions, about sacrifices Maya would have to make to be accepted. When the recording ended, I looked at Mrs. Whitaker and I said, "You know what, ma'am? Nathan was right about one thing. This marriage would have elevated Maya, elevated her into being complicit with criminal behavior." He exploded. "You sanctimonious bastard. You think you can destroy my family because you would not accept my friends? You think your construction money makes you better than 4 generations of Whitaker achievement?" The crowd leaned in. This was better entertainment than any television drama. "You want to talk about achievement?" I shot back. Lewandowski Construction has employed over 600 people in 30 years. We built 847 projects. We paid millions in local taxes. We created jobs and communities. We earned every dollar with sweat and skill. Then I pointed at Nathan's people and kept going. Whitaker Investment Group stole retirement accounts and college funds to pay betting debts. Which family's achievement are we celebrating here? Nathan lunged, his lawyer catching his sleeve. "I will ruin you," he snarled. "My family has more connections than you can imagine." I nodded toward the half-empty section where his business associates once Saturday. "Those connections are leaving faster than rats off a sinking ship. Senator Whitfield left 20 minutes ago. Judge Caldwell is in his car making calls. Your old money friends do not want to be photographed with a man suspected of federal offenses." Maya stepped between us. Calm, fierce. "Nathan, it is over. The FBI has your bank records, your client files, witness statements from a dozen families. You are going to prison." "Avery, please," he begged. "We can work this out." "Your lawyer says keep quiet," I said. "Your lawyer is right. Anything you say can be used against you in federal court." Helen Whitaker finally found her voice, ice in every syllable. "Maya, darling, you are making a mistake. Nathan made some poor financial choices, but he did not." "Did not what?" I cut in. "Did not destroy people's lives for poker chips?" Her face went pale. The crowd smelled the hypocrisy and recoiled. Then an agent I had called an hour earlier stepped forward. Agent Delgado, calm and professional, his badge discreet but visible. I had asked him to be present, in case Nathan made statements that would influence witnesses. "Mr. Whitaker," Agent Delgado said, "by approaching witnesses you are in violation of your bail conditions. You need to come with us." "This is intimidation," Nathan protested. "You have the right to remain silent," the agent replied evenly. "Which you probably should have exercised 10 minutes ago." They marched Nathan off in handcuffs again, his wrists locked behind his back, his head lowered, while the last fragments of his polished reputation crumbled in front of everyone. Maya turned toward the crowd, her voice steady even though I could see the ache in her eyes. "To Nathan's family and friends," she said, "I am sorry this is how you found out the truth, that the man you trusted was nothing more than a criminal. To my father's friends, thank you for standing by us and showing me what real loyalty and integrity look like. And to the families Nathan stole from, Lewandowski Construction will be reaching out this week. We are going to help." The section where the Whitakers and their guests had sat was nearly empty, old money had dissolved like mist under a hot sun. But my crew, my so-called unimportant immigrant friends, were right there, circling Maya with warmth and protection. Helen Whitaker stood by her black Mercedes, alone now, clutching her purse like it could shield her from her son's disgrace. I called out as she opened the door, "You were right about one thing. Some people never learn their place. Your son never learned his was to be an honest man, not a con who preyed on the elderly." She didn't answer. Just drove away, tail lights disappearing down the driveway. An hour later, when the lawn had emptied and the noise had faded, Maya came down to where I stood by the lake. She touched my arm gently. "Dad, did I do the right thing?" I looked at her, my girl, no longer weighed down by Nathan Whitaker's chains. "Honey, you made the only choice that lets you look yourself in the mirror tomorrow. The Whitakers will never forgive this humiliation, she whispered. They won't have time, I told her. They'll be too busy dealing with federal prosecutors. That was when she smiled, her first real smile in days. So, what now? Now, I said, we go back to being a family that earns respect instead of demanding it. By Monday morning, Nathan's fall was front-page news. Investment manager arrested in elder fraud scheme, $3 million stolen. The picture showed him being led into court, his Yale ring catching the flashbulbs like some kind of harsh joke. Maya called from her apartment. Dad, have you seen the coverage? Hard to miss, I said, sipping my coffee. Channel 12 wants an interview. They're calling it immigrant grit versus old money greed. I told them no comment. Let the proof speak for itself. At 10 o'clock, my assistant buzzed me. Helen Whitaker on line 2. Her voice was clipped, cold. Mr. Lewandowski, we should discuss a settlement. Perhaps there is a way to prevent this misunderstanding from further damaging both families. There is no misunderstanding, I said flatly. Your son is a thief. Your family's reputation was wrecked by his choices, not mine. She hung up without another word. By noon, the whole truth was public. 17 victims. $2.7 million missing. Federal prosecutors asking for 8 to 12 years in prison. That evening, Maya pulled up with a bag of Chinese takeout from the little restaurant where we'd eaten for years, the same place Nathan once called, not refined enough. She set the cartons on the kitchen table and smiled faintly. Thought this was more fitting for a family dinner than the country club. We ate together in the same room where the whole mess had started. After a while, she set her chopsticks down. Dad, I quit my marketing job today. I want to come work with you. With us. Lewandowski Construction. Maya, you've got a business degree. You could work anywhere. I want to work somewhere I'm proud of what we build, she said. And I don't just mean the buildings. 3 months later, Nathan Whitaker was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. He will serve at least 7. 17 families finally had justice, and Lewandowski Construction launched a victim assistance fund. We could not restore what they had lost, but we could help rebuild some security and dignity. Maya officially joined the company as Director of Community Relations. Her first project, affordable housing for elderly immigrants, the very kind of people Nathan had targeted. The Whitakers' North Shore estate was sold. Helen moved quietly to Florida, her 4 generations of refinement reduced to a name people no longer spoke with respect. Last week, Maya went on her first date with Stephen Grant's boy, a public defender who spends his days standing up for families like the ones Nathan called unimportant. That is when I realized something. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all. Sometimes it is living well, building honestly, and teaching your children that real respect is earned, one relationship at a time. The truly important people already know that. The rest? They never mattered anyway.